What is going on, guys? Kenny here from 619 Guitars and Gear, and today we are going to dive into and check out this super bright hot pink Ibanez Jem Jr. I think you guys will be pretty surprised about what I have to say about this guitar. So as always, let's get into it. Alright, well, welcome back to another review video. If you're new here, my name's Kenny. Before we dive into this video, I figured I'd update you on the little situation we had towards the end of the unboxing video. If you missed the unboxing video, I will put the link up here. It was kind of entertaining, if you ask me. It kind of went from funny and entertaining to I was a little aggravated at the end. Basically, Centerville Music in Ohio, they did a great job, and I mean a great job, on boxing this thing up. It was double boxed, but there was more packing material in the outer box than I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not going to complain about that because I got here safe, but it was just pretty funny. I mean, I was just pulling this stuff out, and it was just like never ending. I pretty much have enough packing paper for the rest of my life now, but pretty much upon getting this thing open all the way and laying eyes on the guitar, I noticed there was a couple issues with it that were not mentioned on the reverb listing, and I was just a little agitated about it. I'm a firm believer that when you're selling a used guitar, especially if you're stating it in excellent condition, any kind of ding, dent, or scratch that's more than players wear should be it should be listed. You should mention something about it. That's just how I do business. I know not everyone's like that, but basically when I unboxed it, I found it had a pretty ugly blemish here where the neck and body meet. Almost looks like kind of like a touch-up or something like that. Not a huge deal, but again, it just would have been great to know about something like this. Would it have deterred me from buying the guitar? Probably not. I maybe would have offered a little bit less money. But, and then another issue was the neck and body were completely separating. There was pretty much a 1.5 to 2 millimeter gap in there. I put a 1 millimeter thick pick in there, and it kind of just, it fell right in and didn't, I had to get it out. But the gap was pretty significant. Turns out the top screw here was stripped. It was just spinning. It wouldn't tighten up. So I went ahead and doweled up that hole with some glue and a wooden dowel, re-drilled the hole, and everything is fine now. But basically, I did end up contacting Centerville Music. There was no arguing, no fight. The guy was really cool. I mean, his thing was that condition is subjective, which, sure, I guess. But it just would have been great to know about, these two little issues. I mean, maybe the neck, I could see you missing that little gap because you're probably, I don't know how well that company or that store inspects stuff when they ship it. But I just feel like if you're listing something in excellent condition, stuff like that should be mentioned. Maybe I'm crazy. Tell me in the comments if I am. I want to hear your opinion. But we got that all figured out. He basically offered me a little bit of a refund, which I accepted, and all is well. No hard feelings. I give him a great feedback because he worked with me. He was cool. He didn't try to fight with me or anything, and it is all taken care of. So that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and dive into some specs here. So diving right into the specs, starting at the body, you obviously have a solid body minus this monkey grip here. It is considered the Steve Vai Jem body shape, obviously. Something pretty interesting is the wood is, the body wood is Meranti. Don't know too much about that. From what I've read, it's kind of almost like a substitute for, or close to mahogany. It is a hardwood. It's really common to use for like outdoor decking and stuff. I guess the wood has a lot of natural resins and oils in it that just make it, you know, less susceptible to, you know, decaying and rotting and stuff like that. So I found that pretty interesting. You have a gloss polyurethane finish and obviously this really hot pink paint job, which I think is awesome. I have no hot pink guitars. I have this really light, like vintage pink, I guess you would call it, Ibanez back here that I painted myself, but no hot pink. And I think this thing just screams 80s, and why not have a hot pink guitar? I absolutely love it, to be honest. Then you have this black pickguard, which I think looks great with the pink. You have a bolt-on maple neck. It is the Wizard 3 neck, which is my favorite Ibanez neck. 25.5 inch scale, 24 jumbo nickel frets. You have a Jatoba fretboard, dual action truss rod. You have the Tree of Life inlays, which was never a huge fan of that. I mean, it's kind of growing on me. I don't hate it, but I don't love it at the same time, I guess you could say. And then you have regular white side dots. You have a 15.75 inch radius, which is basically a 16-inch radius. You have a locking nut, and the nut width is 1.692. Basically going and from the headstock up, something I'm really sad about is that there's no flip open truss rod cover. I know he has his covers that he likes to use on his gems or whatever, but I love the Ibanez truss rod covers that flip open. It's one of my favorite things in the world, actually. But it is what it is. I'll get over it, I guess. You have these generic Godot style non-locking tuners, which do the trick. No problems with them whatsoever. Then finishing off the rest of the hardware, you have this Ibanez, it's just called a double locking trim system. It's more like a licensed Floyd. It's not like the Edge Pro or anything. I don't really know too much about the Edge Pro bridge from Ibanez, but I'm pretty well experienced with Floyds or licensed Floyds. And I have to say this one is really solid. No issues whatsoever once you lock everything down. Stays in tune. I have it nice and level right now. And just no major complaints at all about this thing. Moving on to electronics, you have one volume, one tone, a 5-way switch, infinity humbuckers in the neck and the bridge, and an infinity single coil in the middle. Not a huge fan on the middle pickup, but it is what it is. I lowered a little bit just so it doesn't get in my way. I do have some mod plans maybe for this. You guys will probably, you know, the Steve Vai fans out there will probably, you know, crap all over me for that, but I was thinking of just maybe eliminating the center pickup and doing something really cool for the humbuckers. My mind's going, but stay tuned for that. I will let you know. And yeah, basically for the color of the hardware, I want to say they call it like a Cosmic Black or Cosmos Black or something like that. It's like a Cosmos Black Chrome. I had a different Ibanez that I no longer have that had the same color hardware on there, and it looks really good. It's clean looking. It's a little bit darker than regular chrome, and yeah, I think it looks awesome. But some pretty basic specs, but at the same time some really good specs if you ask me, honestly. Let's go ahead and put this thing on the bench. I want to open up all the cavities, check everything out, see how the shielding paint looks, and just get an idea of what's really going on with this thing. All right, real quick, let's go ahead and check the relief in the neck. Now, a little disclaimer here. When this thing came, it was not set up very well. There was a ton of relief in the neck. The action was high. I think it was a lot due to the fact that there was that huge gap in the neck. And after I fixed that, everything was just kind of out of whack. So even though we're not showing you how it came from the factory, I figured I can show you how I have it set up because it's playing really well right now. So as far as relief, I pretty much have zero relief in this thing. The neck is pretty much dead straight, which on some guitars, that's how I like to set it up, depending on how it sounds and feels. And on other guitars, I like a little bit of relief, but on this guitar, it's responding really well to having a straight neck. And yeah, I mean, this thing is pretty much dead on straight. Moving on to checking the string height at the 12th fret. Now what's funny is normally I will have my action set around 1.50 millimeters or around 0.06. Right now I have this thing set at pretty much 1.25 all the way through, which is pretty shocking because that is a little low for me, but it's handling it really, really well. So yeah, 1.25 millimeters all the way through, and then pretty much this would be around 0.05 in inches all the way through. Not too bad. And then I just figured I'd show you where I have my trem set. It is basically dead level. Might be the slightest bit of low in the rear, but I mean, other than that, it's pretty much almost as level as you're going to get it. But with this guitar set up the way it is right now, it is set up really, really good. Trem is full floating, nothing's locked down. It can go down, it can go up, but everything is set really, really good, and this guitar is playing great right now. All right, so we got the back cavity cover opened up here, and you'll see we have 3 springs, your claw, the block, a rather tiny block. Might be something worth upgrading. You can change the material, the mass of the block. It's not a night and day difference when it comes to total changes, but it does make a difference. I have a little bit experience with it, not much, but this thing looks tiny, so it might be worth upgrading. You have plenty of room in here. I have my claw adjusted pretty evenly. My trem is floating and it is basically perfectly level. I put new strings on this just because the ones were hammered when I got it. So I have it in drop C right now. Put a little bit of a heavier gauge string on it. I believe I have a 54 to 11s on here right now. But yeah, I did have to adjust the claw a little bit. Ground wire looks great. You still see we have some buffing compound around the edges from the factory. I did have to stick a toothpick in one of the screw holes because it was stripped. There is a couple screw holes that were stripped on this guitar, but all is fixed now. But everything looks good in here. All right, taking a look at our output jack here. This is my favorite style output jack on the Ibanez. It is kind of on the butt of the guitar, recessed at an angle instead of being on the bottom or on the pickguard like a Strat. It's kind of at the butt end here, below the strap button at an angle. So when you put your cable through your strap like most people do, it's kind of ends up at the perfect angle for it, as you can see my stick here. But it works out great. You have a cylinder style output jack or flush mount output jack. Only thing I'm noticing, there's no shielding paint in here. It probably could benefit from it. I might end up doing that. There is shielding tape on the backside of the cover. Wiring looks good. Soldering looks good. Yeah, only thing that I really can say is there's no shielding paint, which I can always add that later. All right, so real quick, I just wanted to go ahead and check out underneath the pickguard. Just check out the route, see what the wiring is like on the back of the pickguard. See how the shielding paint is, if there is any shielding paint, which I hope there is. And just overall check it out. Basically took the screws out already, and I got the trim. I just took the springs off the back, and we're just going to pop it out like this. Keep the strings on there. All right, let's go ahead and remove this. Let me put a rag down so we don't scratch anything. So there is shielding paint. It's not super solid. I'll get my meter here in a second and just check it, but I mean, it looks pretty good. Where it makes contact with the back of the pickguard, there should be some tape there, which there is. And all that looks pretty good. So you have two mini 500K potentiometers. You have your typical 5-way Ibanez switch with the circuit board on there, which I don't really mind them. I've never really had a problem with them. Wiring looks nice and neat. So yeah, all that looks good. Soldering joints look good. So this little patch here, I'm curious about that, if that's actually connected to the paint. It doesn't look like, it almost looks like it's rubbed off and might not be doing anything. So I did make my own shielding paint. Highline Guitars has a video on how to do that, just using powdered graphite lubricant and like just black or whatever color you want. Basically, you just mix the two together. It's like black acrylic paint and the lubricant stuff, and it works great. I made up a batch of my own. You just kind of have to mess around with the ratios, but the routes look good. No really complaints there. Let's go ahead and check out. Got the meter. You guys can see that. Oh boy. So I'm just gonna poke around, check a couple different spots. Yeah, we got a reading there. It's still getting a reading, so it is still doing what it's supposed to. I still might touch up this whole thing though. Really get it nice looking. One thing I'm really noticing is there is a huge color difference where underneath the pickguard is and the pink compared to the rest of the guitar. Underneath the pickguard, it's all nice and bright, and then it definitely dulls out. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera. Basically where my pointer is now is all dull and a little bit darker, and then right here it's really bright and light pink, which I wish the whole guitar was like that. It probably was definitely like that when it was brand new, but I mean, this stuff kind of happens with some of these specialty, neon colors, where it'll just fade out over time, from sitting in maybe the sun through a window, or maybe they were a smoker, or just different environments. It could be a number of things. But man, there is a huge difference. I'm not sure if it's coming across on the camera, but you can definitely tell in person. But overall, it looks pretty good in here. All right, real quick, we're going to do a little sound demo, starting with some high gain. We'll go through all the different pickup positions, starting on the bridge pickup. right, now we'll do a little bit of clean. I have just a little bit of Hall reverb mixed in it. Once again, starting on the bridge pickup. All right, well, we've pretty much gone over everything we need to go over with this guitar, specs, sound demos, all that. Basically, what it comes down to, what I have to say is, you know, minus the little setbacks we had with the blemish and having to fix the gap in the neck and all that, how can I put this? It's been a really long time since I've bought a guitar that just makes me want to play, and that's exactly what this guitar does. You know, my fingers were hurting from playing this thing so much. They're finally starting to callus back over, but you know, lately I haven't been able to play guitar nearly as much as I want to, just with work and everything. But I literally have been getting home from work, you know, doing what I got to do and sitting down and just playing this thing. So the fact that it's one of those guitars that just has that vibe and mojo that just makes you want to play it, and then when you're excited to play the guitar, it just helps your creativeness and helps you write really good riffs. And I think when you're having fun and enjoying playing your specific guitar, it just definitely helps the writing and creative process. And that's exactly what this guitar has been doing for me. Absolutely love everything about it. It's just been a while since I've had that. You know, usually I'll like a guitar, but they don't really make me want to play guitar. And this thing just makes me want to stop whatever else I'm doing and play guitar. It's super fun to play. I've always loved guitars with, you know, Floyd style trems or real Floyds or whatever, just the feel you get from them. And it's just, I don't know if it's a feel thing or an overall vibe thing that the guitar gives off, but I absolutely love playing this thing. Another thing is these Infinity Ibanez pickups are probably my favorite stock Ibanez pickup that I've heard so far. I'm not sure if I've had any other Ibanez's with these in them. I might have, who knows, but these pickups sound really, really good. And I'm not a huge fan of the middle pickup. I was thinking about maybe, you know, changing out the humbuckers and getting rid of the middle pickup, get a new pickguard and everything. But it's like almost like, do you want to do that? Do you want to change the whole vibe of the guitar, or risk, it just not being the same? I'm not really sure. It's something I got to think about. But overall, I think this guitar is great, and just been having a blast playing it. As far as QC stuff, can we really talk about that? I mean, obviously it was the blemish and the gap in the neck, but that's not really, quality control from the factory. That's something that previous owners have done. And I'm pretty sure there's really nothing else wrong with this guitar besides the blemish. I fixed the neck, so that's not even a problem anymore. But everything else is great. Yeah, the paint's faded a little bit, which you can't even tell unless you were to take off the pickguard. But everything else is great on this guitar. The fret ends feel great. They're nice and level. And I'm not sure if someone else did the fret ends. I haven't done them because I didn't need to. Only thing I did was polish the frets and clean up the fretboard and oil it, and just wipe the body down and clean everything up. That's all I've had to do to the guitar, and obviously put different strings on it. But this thing feels great, and I'm definitely going to keep this one around. I know I always say that, and then I'll end up selling a guitar eventually. But this one just is pretty much everything I want out of a guitar. And it's crazy that it's like a cheap $400 or $500 guitar that's doing that for me. But it happens. It's just something about the way this guitar is feeling and sounding. It just makes me want to play, and that's what it's really all about. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I really appreciate you guys hanging around with me. Stay tuned for more videos coming out, and as always, stay safe, be a good person, and we'll see you in the next video.